What drives a woman to disguise herself and infiltrate her own organization? When does the pursuit of truth become a matter of life and death? For Vanessa Blackwood, founder of America's largest wildlife rescue network, these questions would lead her down a path darker than she could have ever imagined. One that would force her to confront not just the corruption within her empire, but the betrayal within her own family. On a scorching July morning in the Arizona desert, Vanessa stood before the lifeless body of Raja, a magnificent Bengal tiger, and the crown jewel of Wild Guardian Rescue's rehabilitation program. The majestic predator lay motionless in its enclosure, its orange-black fur having lost its former luster, its powerful body frozen in an unnatural stiffness. There was something disturbingly wrong about this scene, something deeply unsettling. "These results don't add up," Dr. Isaiah Reed muttered, his brow furrowed as he examined the blood work for the third time. "These levels, they don't align with natural causes." His usually composed, weathered face now bore a trace of concern, just enough to send a chill down Vanessa's spine. 15 years earlier, Vanessa had founded Wild Guardian Rescue with a simple mission: to provide sanctuary for injured and endangered wildlife. Her innovative approach to rehabilitation and release had transformed a small desert facility into a nationwide network of 20 centers, earning her the nickname the Wildlife Whisperer among conservation circles. The organization's success story read like a conservationist's dream: over 15,000 animals rescued, groundbreaking rehabilitation techniques, and partnerships with leading universities. Their latest achievement, a revolutionary tracking system for released animals, had garnered international acclaim. But as Vanessa was about to discover, success often casts the darkest shadows. The first warning sign came in the form of a cryptic email from a former employee: "Not all animals make it to freedom." Vanessa had dismissed it at the time, chalking it up to the resentment of a disgruntled worker. People got emotional about the rescue. Passion sometimes turned to bitterness, and she had learned not to take every accusation to heart. But then Raja died. The tiger's blood work showed traces of compounds that shouldn't have been there, compounds that suggested a far more sinister fate than natural causes. That same night, as she reviewed security footage from the past month, Vanessa noticed something peculiar: vehicles entering the facility during off hours, paperwork that didn't match transfer records, and most disturbing of all, her own brother Hunter's presence during times he claimed to be overseas. Hunter had joined the organization 3 years ago, bringing his business acumen and connections to wealthy donors. Under his financial leadership, Wild Guardian's budget had tripled. But now, watching him on camera directing unmarked trucks to the back entrance at 2 a.m., Vanessa felt her world beginning to crumble. "I need to see for myself," she whispered to her reflection as she applied the dark wig and colored contacts that would transform her into Annie Martinez, a new volunteer with a passion for wildlife. Her hands trembled slightly as she practiced her slight Mexican accent, a skill from her college theater days she never thought she'd need again. The following week as a volunteer shattered her illusions, ripping away the comforting facade of Wild Guardian and revealing the horrifying truth beneath. This wasn't a sanctuary, it was a front. Rare animals weren't being rescued and rehabilitated. They were commodities, funneled into the hands of private collectors or slaughtered for the black market trade in traditional medicine across Asia. And the state-of-the-art tracking system she had once admired? It wasn't protecting wildlife. It was a weapon used to hunt, capture, and traffic the very creatures it claimed to save. But the most gut-wrenching discovery came during a late-night shift. As she moved through the dimly lit enclosures, pretending to clean, a voice drifted from the administrative office. Hunter's voice. "The Bengal tigers are worth twice as much if we harvest them young. Tell our friends in Vietnam the next shipment will be ready in 2 weeks." Vanessa froze. A cold dread curled around her spine. Her own brother, the same boy who once helped her nurse injured birds back to health, who shared her childhood dreams of protecting wildlife, was now orchestrating the very cruelty she had spent her life fighting against. She gathered her evidence and took it to Sophia Reeves, a contact who had recently started probing into Wild Guardian's operations. Vanessa had hoped for guidance, but what she got was something far more shocking. "We've been building a case for months," Sophia admitted, lowering her voice. "But we needed someone on the inside to connect all the dots." She wasn't just an inquisitive outsider. She was an undercover agent for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And now, with Vanessa's findings, the pieces were finally falling into place. The next 2 weeks turned into a high-stakes game. Vanessa walked a tightrope between gathering evidence and maintaining her cover, knowing that one misstep could cost her everything. She documented falsified paperwork, photographed hidden holding areas, and recorded damning conversations that exposed the full scope of the operation. But Hunter wasn't a fool. He started noticing things, subtle inconsistencies in the volunteer schedule, missing documents, questions that didn't quite fit. The noose was tightening, and Vanessa could feel it. One wrong move, and she wouldn't just lose her cover. She could lose everything. The breaking point came sooner than expected. One evening, as Vanessa was photographing shipping manifests, a hand grabbed her shoulder. "Looking for something, sis?" Hunter's voice was cold, unfamiliar. Behind him stood Maxwell Cooper, a board member she had never fully trusted, holding what was unmistakably a tranquilizer gun. "You always had to be the hero, didn't you, Van?" Hunter's voice was laced with contempt, his gaze sharp with betrayal. "Do you have any idea how much money you've thrown away with your precious rehabilitation program? These animals aren't just rescues, they're assets, and on the private market, they're worth 10 times more than you ever imagined." What happened next would go down in law enforcement legend. As Hunter droned on about profit margins, Vanessa subtly pressed the emergency signal on the modified phone Sophia had given her. A silent call for help. But she knew backup was at least 15 minutes away. 15 minutes she had to survive. She steadied her breath, forcing herself to meet Hunter's gaze. Keep them talking. Keep them distracted. Because if she failed, no one would be left to tell the truth. "You killed Raju," she said, barely containing the tremor in her voice. "He was our first rescue, Father's favorite." Hunter laughed, a hollow, soulless sound. "Raja was a test. We needed to see if our new sedation protocol would work for international transport. Unfortunately, we miscalculated the dose." Something inside Vanessa snapped. The next few minutes were pure chaos. In a desperate move, she shoved a shelf of supplies, sending bottles and equipment crashing to the floor. The distraction was just enough. She lunged for the office door, slamming it shut and locking Hunter and Maxwell inside. Then she ran. Heart pounding, she sprinted through the facility, hitting emergency release switches on enclosures as she passed. It was a failsafe she had designed years ago, a last resort she never thought she'd have to use. But tonight is about life and death. When law enforcement arrived, they were met with an extraordinary scene. Dozens of traffickers and corrupt employees trapped inside the facility, surrounded by agitated, very awake wild animals. The chaos was palpable. Lions pacing their enclosures, tigers growling low, and the air thick with fear. Hunter and Maxwell were found in the office, locked in a frantic standoff. The tranquilizer gun was emptied, the last dart fired in a desperate attempt to stop an enraged mountain lion from barreling through the shattered window and into the room. The aftermath was both devastating and transformative. 43 individuals were arrested across 3 states. The exposure of the trafficking ring sparked international investigations and the rescue of hundreds of animals. Yet for Vanessa, the real work was only just beginning. "We didn't just fail these animals. she addressed her remaining staff during the rebuilding phase, her voice steady but heavy with the weight of the truth. We didn't see the darkness hiding behind our good intentions. That ends today. With those words, the journey toward redemption began, both for Wild Guardian and for herself. Over the next year, Vanessa rebuilt Wild Guardian from the ground up. She implemented a revolutionary transparency system where every animal's journey through rehabilitation was publicly trackable. She established an independent oversight board composed of wildlife experts and ethical watchdogs. Most importantly, she created a comprehensive security system that became the new gold standard for wildlife facilities worldwide. Today, Wild Guardian Rescue runs on a new motto: truth, transparency, trust. Every month, Vanessa works shifts alongside the team, no disguise, as a regular keeper. The organization has emerged stronger than ever, with a growing list of ethical donors and a committed team wholeheartedly dedicated to the rescue and protection of animals. In her office is a small reminder of how close she came to losing everything. A picture of Raja, with a simple inscription beneath it. The truth, however painful, sets us all free. As for Hunter, he occasionally writes to her from federal prison, trying to explain his actions, to justify them. She reads each letter but doesn't respond. Some betrayals, she realized, don't deserve a response. They demand change. And in the end, that's exactly what she brought about. Remember, friends, the most dangerous threats to our dreams often don't come from the outside. They come from within the walls we've so carefully constructed to protect them. The real question isn't whether darkness will come, it's whether we'll have the strength to face it, even when the light forces us to see things we'd rather leave in the shadows. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe and share the video. Let's keep spreading the truth together. Until next time, stay vigilant and hold on to your integrity as if your very life depends on it, because in many ways, it truly does.